Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, we are talking about Hospice of Wichita Falls. And joining me now, we had mentioned just a little bit earlier in the show about Tammy Hood. And she is here to share her story today. And first of all, we just want to say thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for asking me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And, you know, we actually Hospice had a media luncheon for all the media. And Tammy stood up and shared her story. And I have to tell you, it was so moving. And it's so neat to see all of the different aspects of hospice. I mean, some that even though we work closely with hospice in the media, you know, we forget about, and you just don't realize all that they do for the community. So we've asked Tammy Hood to be here today, share her story, and really how hospice has touched her and saved her through a tragic time. We heard a little bit earlier about the 2-year-old and Peyton, and that was actually your little girl.
Yes, Peyton was actually 23 months old, and she was bit by a rattlesnake down at Possum Kingdom Lake. She fought very hard for 5 hours before her little body gave out, and she died at Cook Children's Hospital. My family lived here at the time, but I didn't. But we came here to have her service and our family, and be with our families. And during that time, I was very concerned about my son Tristan. He was only 3.5, and I was very worried about how I was going to explain all this, something I couldn't even understand myself.
Sure.
And so we got some recommendations for some counseling, and one of those was hospice. And I didn't know what all services, hospice you always think of as end-of-life care. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, if they do grief counseling, that's great. So we went in and talked to the counselor, and she was wonderful. And we realized right from the start, or she realized, that Tristan wasn't the one who really needed the counseling, it was me. And so I started going to counseling, and she committed to me to help me as long as I needed, which was amazing. They don't charge anything for their grief counseling. They will take you on whatever basis you need. I needed a lot of counseling right at the beginning. And I still actually go now. It's been over 2 years, and I go. It's not as regular as I used to go, but I still do go. That counseling, that experience of going and talking and getting my feelings out and crying and screaming and everything that you do when you're going through this horrible, horrible grief, it was the best thing that helped me to be able to come out of my grief. I can't say that my journey's over, but it's definitely well underway. And that was the biggest help that I could have had. Another huge thing that hospice does is they also have support groups. And I had help from the Wings of Hope group. It's a support group at hospice that is particularly for children, or for parents and grandparents who have lost their children. And it's an amazing group, and we sit around and we celebrate our children's life. We celebrate their birthdays. We celebrate anniversaries. We celebrate all kinds of things, and we're there for each other on the anniversaries of their death and everything else. We go in there and cry. We go in there and laugh. We are just there for each other, and we give each other ideas of how to handle things, and that we're not going crazy in this time of extreme grief. And those people have helped me tremendously too. And they've also got wonderful children's programs, and most people don't know about this either. Children go through grief when they lose somebody too, not just a sibling, but anybody. And they have two wonderful programs called Building Bridges and Camp Grinnigan. And my son has done both of those. I worried so much about Tristan and how he would take everything, because he was there when this all happened. And so I didn't know how he would process everything. So he's been to both of these programs, and they do amazing things, not just for the children, but for the families too. The families are asked to participate and come in and talk, and it's wonderful to see kids finally getting out their feelings and letting their parents know, I want to talk about this family member, or I want you to, interact with me. I want to know what's going on. And for the parents to understand that. And so we've been able to experience all these wonderful programs through hospice, and they've all been free to us. And that's because of the community support through things like Tree of Lights. Yeah. Tree of Lights makes these programs possible. And so it's a very important thing to be giving to hospice. I can't stress that enough. I just appreciate so much the people in the community for giving to this wonderful organization, not just for those people who are dying, but for those of us who are left behind to have to deal with the grief.
Sure. Sometimes that's the hardest part, it seems.
Exactly. And, you know, for the children, for the families, for everybody who has to go through this, it's been a tremendous thing for my family. My family has been able to actually give back in some ways, and so it's been very rewarding for us to be helped out through this horrible storm in our life.
And I heard, you know, you had said that whenever you're in this support group, you're not there with your family members, correct?
That's right.
So you're there with people who have been maybe in that situation or similar situations.
Exactly, exactly. And so they know. And so when you're telling your family things, they can get really worried and really, you know, upset and distressed by things that you're telling them, because your emotions are very crazy when you're going through grief.
Yeah.
But when you're telling these people, they understand.
Yeah.
They just understand, and so it's really, really nice and comforting to have that support.
What a healthy outlet for you, huh?
Yes.
Where you don't have to worry about anything.
Absolutely, and it's it's all confidential, and so you don't have to worry about somebody going and telling, oh my goodness, you know, she said something crazy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you said 2 years though, and you're still going. You're still taking part in these.
Oh, absolutely. My son just finished up building bridges for the second time, and he's asked if he can keep going back, and I told him he can go back as many times as he wants, because that's hospice's way. They don't just shut you off. They let you come back. They let you do as much as you need. They want you to get better. They want you to survive the grief.
Why did you think it was so important, Cammie, for you to share your story and what you went through for others? I mean, I know this is kind of a simple answer because we can see the lives, you know, that I know you're touching through telling this, but I mean, why did you feel it was so important to share that?
Well, I think a lot of people don't know about what all hospice does. You know, they know about the end-of-life care, and that's very important, don't get me wrong, but I just think it's really important for you to know about the other things that hospice can do. And those people out there who need help, please call hospice, because they're wonderful and they want to help. And those of you who can donate and who can give money and raise money, please do, because it really does. It can change a life. It has changed mine, and I thank this community from the bottom of my heart for it.
I love that. Well, like they're saying, light up a life, change a life through this Hospice Tree of Lights campaign and Cammie's story. And we just appreciate you taking time today, this morning, to share this. And,
thank you.
You know, can't say enough. And I think you're a big inspiration for so many.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And again, one more reason to give Texoma, and you can see the lives changed just in Cammie's family, and I know there's probably hundreds of more stories out there as well of the lives changed through this. So even $10, you know, can make such a big difference. We need to take another quick break, but we are not done hearing how little Peyton's life has made such a big impact on this family as well. There's so much more that even your sister's doing, and we're going to hear about that as well. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, we are talking about Hospice of Wichita Falls and really the difference that this organization has made on so many lives, particularly the Hood and even Reese family. Joining me now is Peyton's aunt. This is Tammy Reese, and we appreciate you being here today. And it's really incredible to see how each of you ladies have turned something, you know, that was a tragic thing into such a beautiful thing for so many families. Education, Tammy, has been a big part of your mission, it seems.
Yes. Well, Peyton's project actually started as therapy for me for grief. After Peyton died, parents, you think you do everything right. You teach your kids, don't put your hands and feet in places that you can't see, but there are dangers everywhere. And as we found out, you know, we live in Texas. There are rattlesnakes and they're everywhere. So my mission and my very big passion is to educate people on the behaviors, the adaptations of rattlesnakes. There are certain seasons, there are certain times of the day when they're out that you may not be aware of. And we want our kids to love nature. We want kids to be able to go outside and run and play. And we want parents to be able to sit 10 feet away and not worry. So my whole goal is to do an education program to talk about description of them, their behaviors. I mean, some unusual facts that I've found with research. I mean, they can climb. Huh. They can swim. You know, there's myths about baby rattlesnakes and their venom, and most of those are true. And the fact that the venom is actually their survival mode. So when they strike, they give it their all. And you know, things like that I can help people understand and not be afraid to be outside. So another thing that we're kind of doing, it's evolving. It started, like I said, as therapy, and it's just evolved into something a lot bigger, which I'm sure has something to do with Peyton. Part of my initial reaction to her death was anger, of course, blame. I wanted to get rid of every rattlesnake in the whole world. You know, just get rid of them. But they have a purpose here. Yeah. And, you know, a purpose of not only rodent control, but also, you know, their venom has been used for medical research. And I'm getting more involved in that and researching that aspect of it, too, to help me feel better about what all happened. In addition, we do a lot of, or we're planning to do collaborations with the Texas Blood Institute and American Red Cross, you know, donating blood. I mean, in her instance, if she hadn't have had that extra blood, we wouldn't have had the closure that we needed. So there's a whole lot. It's, like I said, it's in the infancy stages, but I'm very excited, very passionate, and it's going to be a really good thing.
It's amazing how many different aspects you're taking, too, because, you know, that's at least 3 different things. With the blood drives, like you said, that allowed y'all time to, since she was flown, correct, the family was able to get there and,
right,
and see Peyton. And also the education, such a big thing living in Texas, I know, for so many families as well. Is there another maybe little tidbit that you've learned that was surprising that you can share with us as well, or something parents could look for? You said it is those baby rattlesnakes that seem, you think they don't seem to be as dangerous, but they are.
But they are. Also, what people think, if, God forbid, you are bitten, your initial reaction on what to do immediately is not, logic doesn't make sense in this. What you want to do is not the right thing to do. So learning how to handle immediate response to a bite, sure, is also a huge part in what I'm trying to get across. It's amazing how much impact Peyton has had on other people's lives. Yeah. I mean, we've had email messages and Facebook just recently of a friend who walked outside and there was a rattlesnake on their back porch, and just that fear of wanting to stay inside.
Sure.
I mean, we don't want that. We want people to be out enjoying nature, and if they are aware and they're educated, they'll be able to.
Absolutely. What an awesome thing, Tammy, I have to say, that you're doing. And we're going to have Tammy back on as she continues to build Peyton's project. It's pretty incredible. You're even working with, I believe, other doctors and universities, correct, on
yes,
this, and learning how this venom that, you know, of course, it's scary and it can be for bad, but it's also can be used for things so good as well.
Right.
We just appreciate both of you coming on and sharing how much hospice has helped your family.
Hospice has taught me to pay it forward, definitely. Seeing how they have completely helped not just my sister, but my nephew, my entire family. Yeah. And I mean, I have some great friends in hospice. Trisha Golding's just wonderful. She's been a big part of Peyton's project as well.
Well, it's such an awesome thing, and again, Tammy, we can't say thanks enough for you taking time and being so willing to share, you know, what your passion is. Thank you. And we need to take another quick break, but we will be right back with more, so stick around. One more look at how you can help the Tree of Lights campaign be a big success this year is after the break, so stay with us. We want want to say thanks for joining us, Texoma. Remember, there are several ways you can give. You can give at Psych Center Mall. You can also give at Hospice of Wichita Falls. You can even mail it in or give on their website. We also want to say thanks again to Trisha Golding, Tammy Reese, and Peyton's mom, Cami Hood. We also want to congratulate her and her husband as they welcome into the world their fourth child, a little baby girl. Thanks again for joining us. We will see you back here next Sunday morning for another look inside Texoma.